this is the more casual call after the very intense call. Well, not that intense, but, you know, it's pretty loaded with information yesterday about all the class changes. Mate, look, everyone knows you. Everyone knows, you know, what I'm trying to think of the Jaws quote here when he's like, "You all know me. You all know what I do." Scratching the nails down the blackboard. You know? We all know you're a PvP enthusiast, mate. Bloodthirsty, fucking ready to go. Just like me, a man after my own heart. And Blizzard's jumped into Mists of Pandaria and said, "Don't you fucking worry, PvP fans. We've got something for you as well. This isn't all just a PvE fucking orgy or circle jerk. PvP enjoyers, get this up here." And they've come out and announced the following changes. Now, look, I love PvP, Marcus. You know that, but I'm much like with many aspects of the game. A lot of the nuts and bolts and the details just fly over my fucking head. I don't give a shit. Just turn on the game and point me in the right direction, and I'll play it. I don't need to know what's going on under the hood. But many of you listeners, I was thinking of this analogy the other day, Marcus. I thought you'll like this. And tell me if I'm dead wrong. I thought of myself, when it comes to WoW knowledge, I was like, I'm the guy at the car dealership. I'm the car salesman. I know plenty of info about this car. I can sell the car based off of the amount of information I know, and I'll tell you what you need to know in order to put a bunch of money down to drive this car off the lot, right?
Yeah.
But my knowledge is capped at a certain point because I'm really not like, you know, I just do this for a living. I sell the car, I learn the information. I'm not like that fucking invested at the end of the day in really learning how the thing is put together. But you guys, the contributors of Countdown to Classic, you're the fucking engineers. You guys you could put this thing together almost if you wanted to. You know what's going on under the hood. You've got an engineer's level of knowledge about the game that I stop myself from fully getting involved in learning about. Do you think that's a fair analogy?
Yeah, I mean, like, other people are a fair bit more knowledgeable than me as well, but yeah, you're right. And you also create discussion, which I think is quite important.
Well, that's just the motor mouth of the salesman, is it? You know, never always be selling. Mate, so on that note, while I'm pleased to see that PvP is being addressed, I have very little concept of what this information means. I've read it all and just gone, I mean, I guess it's a positive. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to jump into some fucking casual battlegrounds and do my thing as always. But let me read them out to you because, you know, you're the one that's seeing the 4D chess moves here by Blizzard and you'll be able to explain it to everyone. Mate, bear with me for 2 minutes while I just read through these sort of 8 or 9 dot points.
Yep.
So they go, "Greetings. We've updated several PvP-focused elements of the upcoming Mists of Pandaria Classic experience, and we would like to share them below. During active arena seasons, the Conquest cap will go up every week for all characters. If a player does not reach the cap in a week, they will be able to catch up. This is a change we made in Cataclysm Classic, and we were pleased by the feedback. For example..." Why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you want to see? For example, if you create a new character and hit max level 4 weeks into the arena season, your available Conquest cap will be 4 times the weekly cap, and you can catch up to everyone else without being permanently behind. How about, you know what? We're just going to discuss everything one by one because otherwise we'll forget. Sure. So that one right there with the Conquest cap, mate. Talk to me. Yep. Tell me, you rate that as big deal, little deal, or inconsequential?
It's pretty significant for participation. And like that's always where PvP falls over, right? There's a barrier to entry, there's a skill ceiling, there's rating anxiety, there's all that kind of stuff. And if people can get in there and just get a good chunk of gear, if they've got a mate they're going to play with, they get along real well with, they can do some twos, they can grind out that Conquest cap, get some gear, they're going to feel their power grow quite quickly, which just, that positive feedback type loop, it's good. It's really good for participation. Like it's only going to help people play more.
All right. let's go on to point number 2. And this is the one that seems to get the biggest reaction. And I do understand why, but the size of the reaction was still kind of like, whoa. We are bringing back Gladiator and Rank 1 titles and rewards for 2s and 5s in the arena. Mate, the World of Warcraft, small PvP scene that still exists in the classic ranks rejoiced at this one. And I understand now, hey, what you tell me, mate, historically it's like just been like 3s has been the dubbed the mode, if you want to get these titles, but also Blizzard for whatever reason has just been like, this is what we for all intents and purposes deem PvP, or sorry, I should say arena in quotes to be. Mate, talk to me about the history of why 2s and 5s haven't gotten the love with the titles and rewards, and why it's a big deal now to bring it to them.
It's a balance thing. I remember there was like some kind of blue post like way back in TBC, like the first time around. People were complaining about balance in those 2 particular brackets in 2s and 5s, and Blizzard just come straight out and said, we can't balance the game for every bracket. We're going to balance it for 3s, and that's when it shifted right from the get-go. But you could still get your titles for a while, and I'm pretty sure it was like MoP, they took them out, or maybe Kata, or maybe even Wrath. Like I feel like it was pretty quick, and then like that just kind of conditioned the player that like if you're good, you're going to play 3s, because that's the only way you can get your titles.
Right.
And yeah, it's just a balance thing. That's more or less the history of it. It's not overly complicated or nuanced, but I think people enjoy the brackets because 2's, again, lower barrier to entry. You can play with your mate. It kind of always still like did well enough. You could get queues and that no matter like what your rating or skill level, pretty much any time. Because that lower barrier to entry, and it was just mostly buddies, and it was like an off bracket where a good player could play with their mates because they wanted to. Well, at least that's like what I did and what other friends of mine did as well. But 5s, man, the fun thing about 5s was the imbalance, to be honest, and to take those titles away, because like the swings and roundabouts in those matches probably not great to watch, but so much fun to play. It's just like back and forth, and you can still come out on top. Depending on if you're running 2 healers and you lose 1 healer, you can still come out on top. You got enough punch to punch through their cooldowns and stuff like that. You got a good CC chain, bang, swings back the other way, and you win the match, and that feels really good. And it doesn't feel so bad if you do get your healer clipped and you lose, because you feel like it's a 4v5 anyway. You're fighting off the back foot. You're like, oh, well played, guys. It always was a better environment. I preferred it over 3s.
So, I was always kind of surprised that 5s didn't get more interest from the community. Do you think, like, in all honesty, and I know it's hard to predict, but with this change, do you really see, like, I always felt like, you might have mentioned this, I feel like 2s was popular regardless, purely because the barrier of entry was low. Like you sort of, touched on in terms of just getting people involved with the player pool. But like, okay, 2s, grab 1 mate, easy, done. But like, do you think this will truly enliven the 5s game?
I hope so. Like, I haven't spent like, I guess like I'm not a purist. And like the community has suffered, like the classic PvP community has dwindled quite a bit, because you've got like the real purists, the first 3 versions of the game purists that just won't play these expansions, which is a shame. And you've got like 3s purists that just play 3s. But yeah, I mean, I really hope there is an uptick in 5s, because like, I sent you a message and you reckon we can get a 5s team together? because it's like, it's just, everybody's got to try it, man. Like I recommend everybody gives it a whirl if you can get 5 buddies together and just take it with a grain of salt.
Mate, let me drag you down a real quick tangent just on that note, because, everyone does keep talking, and I've seen a lot of Reddit posts about this, particularly given this news coming out this week, and people now have PvP on the lips, and they're discussing what classic PvP has meant over the years.
Mm.
Do you honestly think that classic PvP, the player pool has suffered or interest is low because of, something the devs have done? I mean, we sort of throw out reasons like season of discovery, and I just literally said yesterday, once again, put the boot in to the poor devs, going like, you fucked up with PvP there. They know it, we know it, it's okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But also like other sort of maybe instances of not wanting to get involved in PvP like they've done here. This is something that could have been done much earlier, but wasn't. Do you think it's a problem on the part of Blizzard, or do we turn the mirror back on ourselves and say, well, actually, PvP participation is decreasing in 2025 because that's just simply not where, even if you delivered them the greatest balance of all time and the most wonderful PvP experience of all time, that's just not where WoW players go these days for their jollies. It's, is it that the WoW player is so enveloped in PvE and logs now and everything that the PvP side of the game just holds fuck all interest for them? Or is it maybe a little bit of both? Just before you answer, I'll just also say, like, I really do often wonder what would happen if, imagine a world where WoW was just arenas and battlegrounds, right? Like that was the game. There's no PvE, there's no zones, there's no raiding, there's no nothing, no dungeons. This Blizzard's just released a new game called fucking World of fucking Battlegrounds. You know what I mean? And you pick your character at the character selection screen, and you go in and you do it a la, Dota, League of Legends, whatever. Do you think that version of the game would get fuckloads more people playing it, or not, because people simply just don't want to do that? Or I'm spitballing here, mate. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think like we sort of have to, turn the mirror back onto us a little bit. I mean, it's sod. They tried with PvP, and I am glad they did. And like I've reflected on that a bit, and yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but they didn't have the time or the resources, but they tried, and now like they dumped something like this for MoP.
Yeah, to be fair, just on the sod thing, they started to really try to fix PvP towards the end, but it was just far too little too late.
Yeah, correct. And like it was just always going to be a nightmare for him to get right because of the power creep and everything over such a short amount of time. But like those first like that phase one, brilliant. Phase like probably a bit too healer centric. Phase two was pretty good. But yeah, back to like arena and stuff. I don't think like if that was all the game was, like it wouldn't, like we wouldn't be playing a classic version of it now for sure. Or if a new version come out and was just that, nah. Like it's always gonna be a bit of a side gig. And I've come to terms with that as a PvP player. Like it's not a side gig for me. It's all I want to do. But other people, man, they just love their logs and stuff like that. But you can get that same dopamine hit from PvP if the barrier to entry is low enough. The community is not overly toxic. There's always going to be a bit of toxicity, like when people facing off against each other. They're always going to kind of hate on each other a little bit. But if we can get that down, and we make the most of the changes that we do get, like, and try and get participation up by, encouraging our friends to try it out, as long as, it's a good experience, I think. And yeah, but we've sort of got it's two sides, but these little changes, the right amount, I think. And if the community latches onto them, and it doesn't get too carried away with like if the RMT isn't a huge problem or people feel like it's unfair for another reason. I'm hoping to see a bit of an uptick, at least.
I'll tell you my thoughts on it, and you can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong, and call me out for being a very overly critical and cynical prick on this one if you feel the need. But I mean, Blizzard gets a lot of shit for a lack of attention to detail or just a lack of attention in any aspect to PvP. I don't think they ignore PvP. I'm talking more obviously on the retail side of things. Like the PvP community eviscerates the devs on a very regular basis. And I don't think that Blizzard is absolved of, much of the flack they get. I think some of the flack is warranted, is what I'm getting at. Like I do think that the devs along with the players have really rushed along to, I'll call it the newborn baby and fawning over it and giving it all the attention. Or here's your Simpsons analogy for you, mate. Forget the newborn baby. What's the one where they get the new pet and they're in love with Laddie, and then the dog comes, get that dog out of here, when the other pets try to get some of the love as well. Yeah. PvE really, like, even though PvE was always, a huge part of the game, as the game grew over the years, PvE really became laddie. And PvP really became the other pets that just, you've still got to, give them water and food to keep them alive, but, they're just getting far less attention. And quite frankly, I'll tell you another, I'm just sort of going off a bit here, but real world examples, like it's a real thing. And I've not had kids and experienced it in that way, but I mean, I'm one of 8 kids, and I can assure you that it more than likely happened in my family, but I've done it with pets because I've got so many pets. I've had 6 pets, right? You really do. You get the new baby or the new pet comes along and you do fawn over it, and you do regrettably, not by choice or anything, but start to ignore the ones that were there before. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure there are parents out there that have the newborn, and their 6 or 7-year-olds might start to get a little less love and attention because there's the fresh new one in the mix. You know what I mean? And it's not like you don't like the other kid, but, for a little while there, your mind does get taken away by the new thing. Now, call the analogy police on me if you want, but what I'm getting at, obviously, is that PvE, like, it really blew up with the advent of logs, with the way they learned to stretch the tech and do fancy new encounter designs and all this fun stuff. WoW became the PvE game, even though it started out, as a split. It was the PvP and the PvE game. And some might even argue it was the PvP game at the start, but, that's up for debate. What I'm getting at is, as the years go along, old laddie there got all the attention, and I think it's fair to say to the devs, like, you're bad parents in a way, because whilst you show the minimum mandatory amount of love to PvP because it's still a part of your family, you don't give it anywhere near as much love as it deserves. And you could say that the community involved in it is dwindling because they can feel the lack of love coming. But also, that's on the devs' end. The bigger part of it for me, and this is where I start to get a bit cruel, really is, like I say, on the player base with the mirror turned back at them. Because I truly feel that, obviously, gaming has come a long way in the last 20 years, and we do have the rise of competitive gaming, streaming and everything, and people now being able to really easily see online via streams, YouTube, all that shit, high skill level players, the growth of the competitive scene, money getting involved and everything, and that in turn has just attracted more skill to the PvP side of the game, just generally. Not saying, when you jump in a battlegrounds or an arena, you're always going to run into fucking snuts or anything, but you will see generally stronger players than you would have seen 20 years ago. Now, I've said many, many, many times on the show, WoW players, when it comes to PvP, have particularly fragile egos. You know, PvE gives them that dopamine where you can be, I'm sorry to say this, guys, you might, Arcos would yell at me for saying this. Actually, he might agree. I don't know. I was going to say, I feel like you can be a decidedly average player and go and get your 99s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know people would say, Josh, that literally defeats the very purpose of the 99. If I'm a 99, I'm in the top 1%. You can't call me average. And I'm like, I'm fairly certain there are keyboard turners, clickers, like horrible gamers getting 99. I am sure. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Mate, seen it with my own eyes in Sod.
Yes, we did. Oh my God, we won't name names. We knew a guy who was obsessed with passes in Sod and did collect his 99s every week, and he was a god-awful gamer. And we watched him do his thing in PvP, and he would tell us he's clicking his abilities and stuff, and we were like, oh my God. Anyway, that's to my point. Because thank you for putting up with this rant, Marcus, as you're dying to go to sleep after a long day at work and I'm keeping you up. But what I'm saying is in 2025, people have become... You could get away in 2005 with exposing your penis and no one laughing at you because everyone was doing the same thing. We were all horrible. Now you can't, and people don't feel the love or the dopamine from the PvP side of things because you can't afford to be a horrible player in PvP. You can still have fun as an average player, but many WoW players aren't even average when it comes to PvP, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not used to, and not saying you have to play COD or anything as a prerequisite to be, somewhat involved in the WoW scene. But like, you do need to have mild reflexes or some mild tactical knowledge of a battleground with maybe I'm better off going here than there, or I need to relatively quickly spin my camera around 180 degrees right now to get to the person attacking me from behind. And maybe I should never, ever click an ability with my mouse because that takes time and I don't have the time. I just think that people have said nay to PvP because they're like, that doesn't make me feel like a good gamer. And I'm not a good gamer and I want something to give me the illusion that I am. That's quite the rant, mate. What do you think?
Mate, I think it's on point, but again, I think like most people have probably got a buddy like me that just loves PvP, or a buddy like you, Josh, loves PvP, does a lot of it. They're not god tier, but they understand how Battleground works and all that kind of stuff. And
I still rely on you for that. I'm still fucking very average at knowing where to be in all the battlegrounds. I know what to do with my class and press buttons, but you tell me where to go in the battleground.
But yeah, like even if like you've got a mate in your circle that's like me, that plays PvP, I think that's the guy. If you ever feel like I want to have a crack at it, that's the guy you got to have a crack at it with. Provided they're not there, we should have won that guy. If they've got the patience and stuff.
Never be that guy.
Never be that guy.
So the reference Marcus is throwing out there's a famous moment in SOD when Hunk and Marcus and I were having a lovely day mucking around in casual battlegrounds. And then more and more guildies started finding out, this is the guild that we all eventually mass quit when we found out they were buying, they had their little gold buying operation. More and more guildies found out that we were doing battlegrounds. And so more people started turning up to, oh, boys, can I jump in the next one? Yeah. Oh, can I get in on this? Yeah, no worries. We wound up with about 6 of us from the guild in doing battlegrounds for the afternoon. And the problem was when as more people arrived, you could feel more of the WoW gamer arriving, and it turned from beers and chill and PvP into, people now raising their voice over the voice chat and going, Why the fuck did that happen? What are they doing? Oh my god, look at these fucking idiots. We're not going to win this. Oh, I can't believe we lost that battleground. We should have won that. That's fucking, unacceptable. And we're just like, mate, we're kind of just here to fucking, shoot the shit and hang out. And it really sort of, now don't get me wrong, it's not like I've never gotten frustrated in a battleground, but like it did sort of, we laugh about it to this day, the we should have won that guy. Because they you find them in battleground chat all the time. It's the guy raging in, and I laugh for years over this. The one guy losing his shit in every battleground you've ever been in your life over the fact that you're not performing up to snuff or losing is they're always the worst.
Yeah, generally.
It's always the thing. The person bitching in your dungeon is the guy coming fourth on damage out of 5, and the person bitching in the battleground is the guy doing very little to help you win. Almost every time.
Because he's too busy typing in caps.
Exactly. All right, mate. Look, that was a huge sidetrack. Let me get back to it. So good stuff.
It was a good one, though.
It was a good one. I thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. You're a pleasure to chat to, Marcus. Even though I'm just ranting at you, mate. So good on the people covet their titles. Everyone wants to say they're a gladiator. Well, now you get a chance to do it in 2s and 5s. That's a big win. Let's go to the next big one. Big W for Blizzard. Good on you. And this whole thing is a huge W. We'll get to that at the end. Like, good on them for doing all of this. They really need a slap on the back and to be encouraged because, devs get a lot of flack. Like I always say on the show, you need to fucking, give them the old proverbial, kiss on the lips when they've done well. We will have a flat cutoff instead of a percentage of players for rank 1 and gladiator slots. Now, this one also seemed to be received well, if not, lost in translation a little bit. It's people aren't really entirely sure what that means. How about you explain it to them, Marcus?
So your rank 1 glad was always based on percentage, a number of people, and a percentage. Yeah, it was based on percentage, and there was limited spaces for it. This is another participation change. It's a jackpot on the poker machine. Essentially, you see the chance to get that glad title. You may get to 2K and be inspecting people and be thinking, man, like I could probably reach this 2400. If that's it this season, 2400, I got this. It keeps people playing. It also helps people predict if they're going to get the title or not. Where people who are good, that are good players, they can make a informed decision on whether or not they're going to crack on with it. Whereas before, they kind of felt cheated. They just logged on and they didn't fucking get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was pretty hard because it's a big job.
That's people like Hunk, obviously.
Yeah. Hunk.
PvP sure. God X, Hunk.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Now,
Gigantor's just raised a point.
Yeah, I was going to mention. Go for it. Read it out for us, Marcus.
Oh, mate, it's already disappeared from the screen.
I'll get it for you. He goes with a flat cutoff. Don't you worry that there might be the old selling of glad titles. Before you could pad it to open more spots.
Yeah. All right. You could pad it for sure. Again, that's the same to me. That's the same as like people paying for titles. But the thing is like most people who are going to be upset about these titles being bought are never going to get these fucking titles. Like they don't really have any business being upset about it. I don't want them to be bought. Certainly don't want them to be bought. I think that's disgusting. But on the same token, I accept it's going to happen. I have a reasonable amount of faith that Blizzard are making PvP changes here. Like, I think they're probably going to step on some necks about this stuff. I've seen them do it in the past. The first time around with all these expansions, I've seen them clip win traders. And I would love to see them do it again publicly. Some big names if they're up to no good, you know what I mean? Just bang, you're gone, bro.
Yeah.
And I get that that's a hard decision to make, but I'd love to see it. And with changes like this, I think they might see it. So I do worry, Gigantor, I do, but I also am kind of a little dismissive of this big stick that people are wielding with the RMT, because like if we're going to go down the RMT road, let's just dig into the PvE and just see how rife and horrid it is in there. However, everybody can do it, I guess, and if only a certain number of people can buy rank 1 Glad,
mate, is this the conversation you were having with Cronia last night in the Discord?
Yeah, and he just kept changing the argument. Like, I like the guy. He always raises good questions, but if I don't answer the way that he wants, he kind of just changes the argument a bit. And I just I got to.
So this was an argument all about basically the prevalence of RMT in PvP. Will it be there, kind of thing, was it?
Yeah, it's going to be there. Like, I'm going to 100% concede. I just have that reasonable amount of faith that Blizzard is, like, they're making changes here. They obviously care. That they're going to try and do something about it.
Yeah. I genuinely feel like, I mean, again, because I enjoy PvP more than PvE, and I understand why it hasn't gotten as much attention, but I genuinely feel surprised by the lack of concern at times from the player base, I guess because they're so into purchasing things for money these days that they want it, so that's why they don't complain. But I've always been worried by the lack of concern about the selling of titles and whatnot. And I've spoken to, frequent Countdown to Classic contributors over the years about their concern with the seediness of the PvP scene. And, I won't say names, but like there's always people throwing out rumors of big names being involved in the dodginess and, old mates carrying for money, this guy's selling titles, blah, blah, blah. It fucking sucks, and it really does piss on the parade for people that are genuinely trying to rank or get titles. And you just see, because I'm not familiar with it, because I've always sort of said, and you can explain this to me. I've always said, how can you carry someone to a fucking arena title? Like if you've got the world's worst player in threes and they're just with two gods, surely at the end of the day, that player drags them down, and no matter how good you are, they're going to lose. But obviously that's not the case.
It does drag them down. I've beaten win traders at higher levels, or like people carrying at higher ratings. I've beat them with my team, and like decisively, we trounced them.
Can you spot the mouth breather straight away?
Yeah. You like, mate, it's like, it's that obvious when you're playing at that rating. Like, old mate might as well be standing in the corner, just fucking auto running into the wall.
With a big flag on him saying, I buy gold. Yeah.
And one of them little hats with the twirly little helicopter thing on the top, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like you can see it. But so the problem is, and I see it raised a bit, and it's rightfully raised, is the gatekeeping, because the community is small. So the way to stop the community being small is to just play anyway, because you're probably not going to get those titles, but you're probably going to have fun, and you're not going to find these dudes. And the other thing is like with the gatekeeping, we need Blizzard to help. They need to clip these guys. They need to identify it and just get rid of them.
Yeah, and they need to not be shy.
They've got no business in our community, man. They've got no business in our community.
Yeah, they need to not be shy with the big names. If there's a big name fucking watering down the experience, you need to fucking more than slap them on the wrist. I don't know. I know they never will, and I don't know. Like, I'm not saying like fucking ban them for life or anything, but like, I just, if you would have banned someone's account for win trading for who is a nobody, and then they're a big name and they're doing the same thing. Like, I get that business is part of it, but like, you need to do enough to show people that you're taking it semi-seriously. Like, sure, if it was like, a 2-month ban for the nobody, but then you give the big streamer a 1 month ban, whatever. But when you do the tisk and the rap over the knuckles warning, like, come on, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, they should just exclude them from the season. Like, they can't queue PvP, like rated PvP. That, like, if they're found carrying for money, exclude them from that. Like if you really don't want to hard ban them for 2 months, just exclude them from the PvP. They can't cause the problem anymore. They can still play the game, and they will fucking play the game. Like they,
oh yeah,
like
they'll
if
level
they're a
another
WoW
character
streamer, they ain't got
tomorrow.
nothing
Yeah.
else to do.
Yeah, they'll have a max level character the next day.
Yeah, like they'll make another account or whatever. Like Blizzard can track that. Bang, gone. You gone, bro? Like you trying to outsmart us? Like we got the data. See ya. But they need to make a stand, like take a stand and it would be a deterrent. Like if people with their livelihood attached to it would be like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't. Then yeah, like that, it'll be a deterrent in some aspects, I think. But if they smoke someone big, like I think it'd go a long way if there is someone big doing it.
Go fucking big game hunting, Blizz. There you go. That's when you do.
Send it.
Yeah, that's when you do need to turn into Robert Shaw on the fucking orca and get your big shark. Mate, real quick on this one. Having multiple alts in the gladiator range no longer counts towards multiple slots when calculating the cutoff for that arena bracket size. I'm just reading this as no more cheesing and expanding the player pool like we always used to do. Is that how it is?
Yeah, kind of. But it's also for those savant level players that, like, I mean, I know one who was formerly that kind of player that had, like, would have had multiple gladiators if he so chose. But the option wasn't there. Took too many slots or, whatever. Yeah, I mean, for them, great. And yeah, we can't pad, but we don't need to pad, I guess. So
John raises a really good point and says, boys, they actually do already do this. Apparently, if you have more than a 48-hour suspension, you're not allowed to compete in any Blizzard-sponsored events like the Arena World Championship and the Mythic Dungeon Invitational. I wasn't aware of that. But I guess we don't, on the Classic scene, we don't have AWC or anything. Or do we have any, like, Blizz-sponsored events that are big on the Classic scene? I don't think so.
Not sure.
So I'm just not sure what the deterrent is in the Classic game, but that's really good to know, John. That's awesome that they do that.
Yeah.
Marcus, the resilience and the battle fatigue. Base resilience is now set to 62% damage reduction from players for the duration of Arena Season 12. Base resilience is set to... Actually, wait, I think this is the one that they tinkered with today. Let me just double check this. No, that's the dampening. Okay, so that's all right. I'll get to that. So base resilience set to 62%. Base resilience set to 40% for characters below level 90. Battle fatigue is set to 30% or minus 30% healing and shielding for the duration of Arena Season 12. And they say, we are aware that PvP power has not been contributing towards healing on the beta. That's been accounted for with the battle fatigue and base resilience numbers we have arrived at. Any thoughts on the resilience issues there?
To be quicker games, it kind of punishes... I mean, some people will say that it's good for double DPS because they can just slap healer DPS comps, but it kind of punishes them too. If they have any off healing available to them, and they take more damage, but their games are never going to go into dampening. But just taking more damage, especially like Rogue Mage, it's going to be pretty tough. Like you'll have to try and reset more. Your reset game will have to be good.
So I think it was Gigantor who dug up that it was 72% back in the day. Is that right? Yep. And now it's 62%.
Yeah, thank you, Gigantor, for that, because I couldn't remember if it was an up or a down.
Right.
Yeah.
So about a 10% change in your resilience there. So as you say,
it's like the average player's just probably not going to feel it.
Yeah.
But I think, like Rogue Mages, like people have been playing Rogue Mage like right from the get-go, and then the second time around too, they're probably going to feel it.
Okay. What's the deal with the battle fatigue?
Yeah, that's dampening. I'm pretty sure that's how they refer to it now.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and I think I seem to remember in threes, dampening, you'd have to wait for dampening at times. So I feel like that 10% might just make that not as necessary.
Now, the last one for this post, there was more that was announced overnight that we'll get to just to clean up here, but we're almost done. This was the big one from the post from a few days ago that everyone fucking shot their load all over the place over. There is now a maximum PvE item level of 473 while inside arenas, battlegrounds, and rated battlegrounds. If you're wearing a non-PvP item in an arena, BG, or RBG that exceeds 473, it will be set to 473 for the purposes of that instance PvP. For clarity, PvP items like Conquest weapons at item level 490 are not affected by this cap, and they will retain their item level. Mate, the people are rejoicing because people, PvP enthusiasts like you, Marcus, fucking hate the cross-mixing of PvE and PvP content. PvP people want to do PvP for the items, and PvE people want to do PvE for the items. And this seems to be a clear separation where they're saying, don't worry, you won't have to farm that dungeon or raid for that trinket. It will have fucking very little use for you. Is that right?
Yeah, so Gigantor also helped me out a little bit on this as a bit of memory confirmation. Something similar was done in MoP the first time around, and I remember being really excited about it because I was just like, man, I don't have to do, because I was playing pretty competitively in Mists of Pandaria. I'm like, I don't have to do PvE. Thank fuck. And right from the get-go, I don't have to do PvE. Thank fuck. Because I just don't want to do it. I'm bad at it. I tend to dislike logs a lot, and so I don't want to do it. And the thing is, it's the tools for the job, right?
PvE. I've seen you heal fucking content. You're a solid player. Shut up. But anyway, keep going.
Maybe I'm bad at being entertained by it. Maybe that's what it is.
No, you're like me in that, because you've healed and I've watched you heal. You play the game. I struggle to say this, without thinking of all the way people would laugh at it, but you play the game the way it's quote unquote supposed to be played. Like I was laughing on the call yesterday about the druids complaining about having to squeeze off a battle res because it fucking robs them of one GCD that they could have used for more damage or something. And I'm like,
yeah.
No. Like the battle res is fun to hit. Like I want people who, and I know it's, here we go again, Josh shitting on logs. I'm not so much shitting on logs, but I'm like, I want to play with a crack team of fucking assassins who press the correct button at the correct time, not just always the damage button. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
You are a fucking switched on, very handy healer to have because people don't die on your watch, and logs be damned. That's what I like. But anyway, I'm pissing in your pocket. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, they do die on my watch, but I choose to let them die.
Yes.
But yeah, so I don't have to, and I probably will engage in that content, but like I don't have to, and it's good to feel like I don't have to. And a lot of players are going to feel that, and it's also the tools for the job. PvE guys don't want PvP players to get their Conquest gear and the lob up to raid and be like, "Hey guys, I'm here in my PvP gear." It sucks. Same thing for us PvP guys. Old mate shows up with his glass cannon gear on and bonks you once and you skedaddled. Like that sucks. So PvP was at its best in MoP, I think, like very close to at its best. And I know this is contentious. People are probably going to yell at, their radios or their AirPods or whatever they're listening on. But, I mean, it was pretty close. It was pretty good. And this change from the get-go is great. I support it. And, I mean, it's a hill I'm willing to die on.
All right. Mate, the last point, they released this one overnight all about the dampening. Dampening now starts at 10%, and also dampening starts at 10% and increases by 6% per minute. Note that this stacks with the ever-present 30% healing reduction from battle fatigue. dampening. So there must be a difference between the two.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it's two mechanics.
Dampening in 2s, 3s, and 5s now starts at 3 minutes. Dampening in 2s, where there is a healer on both teams, now starts immediately when the gates open. And the maximum game time is now 15 minutes and not 20 minutes. So this, like you say, this does seem to be them putting the, I think it's a great change, putting the accelerator down a little bit, going like, we want to, speed up these games.
Yeah, they want to speed it up. Again, I feel like it's participation. They're trying to boost participation. All of these changes are participation based, I think, at their core. And like the quicker games will boost participation because like if you've got an hour, you can probably get 10. Yeah, and that's an interesting point that Gigantor just brought up. So like it's just quicker games, more participation, more games played, more data. They've got a plan, and I like it.
All right. What you're talking about, Gigantor saying the Boomkins and the hybrid specs avoided that dampening system originally.
Yeah, which was a bit cooked. Right. So, yeah, if they don't avoid it this time, that's even better, I guess, because they're blasting a little bit more.
So, mate, what does this do overall for, I think you talked about kill times in the Discord. Like, I know it's hard to say because everything is depending on what's fucking going on in the arena, but in general, what kind of percentage would you say this will affect kill times and the speed of your average arena game?
It's pretty hard to say, but
like if I were to say something dumb, like I'll go, they've dropped base resilience by 10%. Maybe I'll kill people 10% quicker. Not quite so, or?
Not quite so. There's a lot of variables involved, I guess. But it could be a lot, but I feel like it's probably like for some people, it's just not going to feel like enough. Maybe they might need to squeeze it a little bit more.
Do you, let me help you out here. Do you have any concerns about kill times in MoP? Because like I say, I've not played MoP. I don't know what the PvP average kill time is. I don't know if I'm going to like it or hate it. We all played Season of Discovery together. I fucking hated the kill times in that one. Because it was, as we always say, the meme, paladins and hunters literally killing people sometimes in the space of 1 to 1.5. Like a paladin could kill people once he got his buffs up or his ramp up or whatever in one GCD effectively. Hunters could kill me with 2 button presses. So, there was some real... That's obviously in the open world, not in the battlegrounds where they were doing... resilience and whatnot, but am I going to get into a MoP battleground, do you reckon, and be like, oh fuck me, this takes either forever to kill someone, or why am I blowing people up straight away? Or is it just going to feel good like it does in, I don't know, vanilla?
I think it's going to feel pretty good. I think where like the real difference is going to be made is in 2s with like those healer comps. So you're going to get your healer DPS comps coming up against each other. They're going to have a better time overall. They're not just going to be like fighting for 5 minutes, waiting for cooldowns, like just going through the motions. It's going to get like it's going to force mistakes a lot quicker. I think they're the ones that are going to really feel it. And it might drop there. Like sometimes those games, I mean, back in the day, that shit used to go for 40 minutes. And like you can't really do that in today's day and age. People are time poor, and kind of just want to crack on with it, and they want to have more fun. They need to be engaged a bit more, and the pressure's going to ramp for those guys. Double DPS comps are probably they may find it a little bit more difficult against the healer comps if they're not. Yeah, they're not getting that dampening straight away, but the battle fatigue, I guess, like, so 2s is where it's going to make, it's kind of probably just going to smoothen the game time out, whereas like 2s was really high and then it would ramp down really quickly to a short game time in 5s. But I think that's just going to be a bit more smoothed out, but by bringing 2s down, I guess.
Right, mates. It's funny. I say vanilla, and people lose their minds, going, "Josh, what do you mean? You said you didn't want people to die too quickly, and you'd hear saying you love vanilla PvP. People die really quickly in vanilla." I don't know. I still kind of liked it. Like, obviously you do have like your pyroblast moments and whatnot, but I still like the kill time in vanilla. But then weirdly, I also like the kill time in Kata a lot. Like, I know you've not played much Kata recently, but like I'm really enjoying Kata Battlegrounds. I think the kill time is pretty solid.
Yeah, it did have, like, Cataclysm does have a good kill time, and MoP was probably a bit slower than that. But this is going to probably, I don't know, might bring it to that.
Yeah.
And it may just be like that might be the slot. They might be happy with those times, and they may have made these adjustments to, put it in line with that.
Fair enough. Mate, look, I won't keep you all day. I've already, in classic Josh fashion, kept you, fucking half an hour longer than I said I would. Mate, thank you so much. Any last points on all this? Is this going to be the revitalization of PvP in Classic, or is it just going to be same old, same old?
It's got potential to be. It's got potential to increase participation. I think these changes were made with participation firmly in their mind, right at the front of their minds. And I just kind of wanted to simp for the devs. I haven't had the chance to do that since early SOD, to be honest.
Glaze them. Do it.
Just thanks. Thanks for doing something. And like these changes seem to be well thought out. They're not a big blunt object, just like whopping stuff out of the road. And I felt that like if there was going to be any PvP changes, that they were going to take this approach, because the way that they changed how some talents and things worked for PvE, but they left them alone for PvP. I respected that too. And yeah, I respect this, and this is good work, and I'd love to see more careful consideration of PvP in the future, and I would love to see more people participating.
Absolutely, yeah. Grab a fucking mate, and grab multiple mates, and go and do some fives, you bastards, and get involved and get fun.
I'm going to be playing in US, and depending on how things work, if we're on the same server, or if we don't have to be on the same server, I don't know how it's going to work, but grab me.
Yeah.
If you're in the Countdown Discord, grab me. I'll play PvP with anybody, as long as you don't say we should have won that.
Hit Marcus up. Now, what are you doing? I'm no pressure here, but are you still intending on rolling on Grobulus or what?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be US. And yeah, probably like if we can, I don't know. You've told me that you can't cross realm PvP, but right. I feel like you could in MoP.
I don't think we can.
Read somewhere that you could, but like it's old stuff, so
right. I don't think it's a thing in Classic, but no. Obviously, there's cross-realm PvP in the battlegrounds, in that you're playing people from all the different servers, but I don't think you can invite or start a group from across servers.
Yeah, right. Because I'm out.
I'm pretty sure Galley Boy and I tested that just the other day, and we couldn't do it.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, there you go. We'll find you on an NA server somewhere. I mean, like I said, what I'm doing with Grobulus is I need to be on Grobulus for that first 2 months, just because, it truly might be the last hurrah for world PvP on any form of a Classic realm. It's the last server that has world PvP because of its balanced population. I just want to see that. I just want to see it, people fighting around me. I enjoy it. And look, if for whatever reason Grobulus goes through a bit of trouble later down the track, then I'm happy just to fucking, switch to another server that's got a bit of a healthier population, but we'll see what happens. All right, mate. Well, thank you for that. You've invoked the old, good to see you slapping Blizz on the back. You've invoked the old Golden Girls theme there. Thank you for being a friend. It's funny, I was just chatting to Patricia last night about the Golden Girls. We were having a chat about old B. Arthur and, Betty White and Estelle Getty, and fucking, Ruth McClanahan or whatever. Because for some reason, Patricia heard a reference to Stop or My Mum Will Shoot. Are you familiar with Stop or My Mum Will Shoot?
Not really,
Okay,
but
it's an old Sly.
can.
It's an old Sly movie.
Yeah, right.
And she's turned to me and gone, "What the fuck is Stop or My Mum Will Shoot?" And I've gone, "Oh, it's an old movie that Sly probably had to do one of those, one for me, one for you situations. It was a terrible buddy cop drama type thing with Estelle Getty, the older lady from the Golden Girls." And she was like, "What the fuck? What could the plot possibly have been for that movie?" And I was like, "I don't even know where to start with this." Like, explaining cheesy old action movies. But anyway, if you even call it an action movie. But yeah, guys, there you go. There's the Stop or My Mum Will Shoot reference for you on Countdown in 2025. Who would have guessed it? Put that on your bingo card. Marcus, mate, you're a gem. You're a fucking legend. Thank you for explaining PvP to me again. I couldn't do this without you. Any shout outs, mate? Any words for the people? You're a man of the people.
A man of the people. Just play PvP, man. Like, dead set. Get amongst it. Grab a mate that's not a cunt. So that excludes Josh.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
play PvP. It's at its best in MoP. Get amongst it.
There you go. All right, mate. We'll talk to you. Yeah, and what?
The shout out. Like,
oh, yeah.
Gigantor, mate, with the information. You're an encyclopedia. I get slightly confused in chat. Boom. The data's there. Thanks very much, mate.
There you go. There you go. All right, mate. Well, look, we'll talk to you later and have a beer sometime.
Yeah, for sure, bro.